Now, we know what's going on the university level. And then there's now this story out that the University of Utah has received a $500,000 grant to create what is being called an intersectional studies collective. I have no idea what that is, and that's why I wanted to bring on our next guest, Matt Lamb. He is associate editor at the College Fix, and find out about this. Matt, thanks for joining us tonight. I understand taxpayer money is not involved in this. It is a grant. But what is this all about, and what's going on up the University of Utah?
Right. So it's a center that will study all of these different leftist buzzwords: carceral studies, environmental anti-racism, queer justice, indigeneity. So I don't know how you say it. And they received $500,000 from the Mellon Foundation for this project.
Okay. Did the university apply for this? Were they given it? How did this come about?
Yeah, they applied for it. They actually received money a couple years ago to create a Pacific Studies Collective, which now has its own certificate, which has 10 students enrolled so far for a program that started about 2 years ago.
Okay. How is this going to help students? What do they say?
I really don't know. If you look at different research on, the earnings and employment rates for these types of very specific ethnic studies or area studies degrees, they're very low. So they just really straddle students with that, and they don't really give them any good career prospects.
Have other universities here in the state received money from the Mellon Foundation to deal with this?
I'm not sure specifically this, but yes, we've covered a lot at the College Fix about the millions given out to the Mellon Foundation to create these different projects, research centers, and all about different leftist, pet issues of LGBTQ or criminal justice reform, that very broad term, and other related issues. So definitely the Mellon Foundation very committed to using the universities to push a liberal agenda.
Matt, did the U have to reach certain qualifications or achieve certain qualifications to get this money?
I'm not really sure. Every time we've asked the Mellon Foundation or we've asked university applicants for copies of their grants or, what are the benchmarks, we never really get a clear definition of what success is and what are the metrics of success. I can tell you that the Pacific Studies Collective, in almost 2 years it's been in existence, has only granted 3 certificates out of thousands of students at the University of Utah.
But the university loves this money, I would imagine, Matt. Matt, tell us a little bit what the College Fix is. What does your organization do?
Sure. So we report on higher education news that's not often covered or not covered from the same angle as the mainstream media would like to cover it. And we also train student journalists to learn about careers in media and journalism and hopefully get placed in different jobs in the journalism sphere. So we're trying to do our part to make journalism a little bit better.
What are some of the more interesting stories over the last year or two, Matt, that you found at college campuses around the country? What's going on out there?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's, of course, the whole Nicole Hannah-Jones situation at UNC where she said she was basically entitled to tenure. Then she made a big deal about it, of course, talked about racism, and then went to Howard University anyways. Just the other day, I wrote a story about how Mike Pence is going to University of Virginia, and already the students are saying that he's putting people's lives at risk, and people could kill themselves if he comes to campus. So lots of issues with free speech, gun rights, pro-life displays being destroyed, and all the issues that have probably been going on for years, unfortunately.
Does the average American out there, Matt, whose taxes go to support state-run universities, not only here in Utah but around the country, do they have any idea, Matt, what's going on at the university level right now?
Well, I'd like to think that we're, doing our part, and you are, to bring these stories to light. But I really think parents do need to get more involved. And as kids are going to college, look at what are the university's priorities. And maybe a community college or maybe an online college, or maybe there's just a different public or private college where you can learn what you need to learn, get your degree, but avoid the sort of politicization of what's really every single program now. It's no longer just women gender studies. It's economics is getting politicized, chemistry, biology, and so it's a really sad state of affairs.
So are those subjects that you just mentioned, Matt, being put aside for studies like you just described here earlier?
Absolutely. I mean, every day I read a different article about a university department of math that released its anti-racism plan, or a university's chemistry department that has its anti-racism plan, or anytime there's some sort of racial controversy, every single department, the economics department has to release its statement on, Black Lives Matter instead of just teaching the subjects they're hired to teach.
On our Newsmaker line, Matt Lamb. He is He is the associate editor of the College Fix, talking about the University of Utah receiving a grant of $500,000 to create an intersectional studies